Jordan Reed believes that the Cowboys, the Buccaneers, or the Browns in the early fourth round are great landing spots for Darius Stills in this upcoming draft. Redshirt freshman Kaylee McCabe is in that situation right now. But she seems to be doing just fine wearing two hats at once. Darius Stills has been wreaking havoc here at Milan Puskar Stadium for the past few seasons. And although he won't be playing for the WV this season, NFL scouts seem to think that he could take his talents to the next level. Although chock full of talent, the team had a bad case of dropped passes. Head coach Neil Brown shared in that frustration. And although they weren't able to add to their trophy case this year, there are still many positives to take away from this season. One positive being that the season got to happen at all. With all these players focused on self-improvement this offseason and getting starting quarterback Jarrett Dagey back this year, we could be in for an electric bounce-back season for these guys in the fall. In West Virginia, early voting starts in 2 days. From October 21st to the 31st, West Virginians can go to their polling location from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. from Monday through Saturday. Who, although likes the idea that there's going to be a better understanding of the police and the residents, he doesn't like the fact that this board will have the ability to conduct investigations should there be misconduct suspected. Darius Stills has been wreaking havoc here at Milan Puskar Stadium for the past few seasons. And although he won't be playing for the WV this season, NFL scouts seem to think that he could take his talents to the next level.
They all really just like my quickness, my intensity, my motor, and they like how mean I play.
I got the chance to talk to Jordan Reed, a draft analyst who scouted Stills himself. Although he doesn't come without weaknesses, Stills does everything he can to compensate.
He is a little bit undersized. That is one worry kind of about him, but the thing that's good about him is that even though he's an undersized guy, he uses his hands well, and then he also has the explosive factor to go along with that. So that's ways he's been able to create quick wins for himself at the line of scrimmage with his explosiveness, even though he is a little bit undersized. So I think that's something that does work in his favor.
Recently, some have compared Darius Stills to the two-time Defensive Player of the Year, Aaron Donald. Reed believes that Sheldon Day is a more fair comparison. Despite this, Stills takes the lofty comparison to heart.
Aaron Donald, they say Aaron Donald's just a once-in-a-generational player, but I'm trying to just, change the narrative also with that and just have me come along and do it too. Just not knowing that, okay, only one undersized detective can do it. There's a lot of them that can.
Jordan Reed believes that the Cowboys, the Buccaneers, or the Browns in the early fourth round are great landing spots for Darius Stills in this upcoming draft. It starts on April 29th if you'd like to see where the Mountaineer lands. Mark Schoenster, Mountaineer Playbook, Morgantown.
National titles are commonplace for the perennial rifle powerhouse West Virginia, but this season they didn't even place in the top 3.
I suspect everyone was a little disappointed how we finished, just both in performance and actual outcome and result. And hopefully that motivates everyone and all of us to get back at it for next year.
The team ended up finishing 4th in the nation, and although they weren't able to add to their trophy case this year, there are still many positives to take away from this season. One positive being that the season got to happen at all.
What we're doing pales in comparison to people working in hospitals and people actually dealing with a global pandemic. So, I think ultimately reflecting, like, we were really fortunate to have a season and be able to do the thing that we love to do, which is our job, and for the athletes be able to come each day and practice and compete.
It is evident that both coaches and players are thankful that a season got to happen all the way to its completion. On top of that, every shooter who competed in the championship for West Virginia had never been in this situation before and are all returning next year. Junior shooter Jared Eddy believes this year's finish will act as a motivator for next season.
That's going to be a huge driver and motivator for every one of us. And I think next year we will come back very strong, very confident in our abilities.
From disappointment to gratitude to determination, that wraps up the 2021 spring season for the rifle team. Now each will go their separate ways for now, reflect on their experiences, and look to come back stronger in the fall. Mark Schoenster, Mountaineer Playbook, Morgantown. The team's average attendance at home for Big 12 play is only 59% of the 2020 opener against Texas. After a rare win over Texas Tech, Mountaineer head coach Mike Carey made frustrated comments suggesting that the fan base had turned its back on the team. Senior forward Tiny Smartin was on her coach's side on this topic.
I definitely understand what he's saying, and I back him up 100%. It's no way that we go on a losing streak and we start losing fans. If you look at the boys' side, they don't lose fans when they have a losing streak or whatever the case would be, so I don't understand why they treat us like that. So I get that he is upset that our fans aren't loyal. I mean, that's when we need fans the most.
Last season, the men's basketball team did not find much success. Despite this, their average attendance at Big 12 games were about the same as their Big 12 home opener as well as their season opener. The women have not quite had the same luck. So I talked to a season ticket holder for the women's basketball team and asked him what he thought about the fan base. S.O. Pratt became a season ticket holder in 1992 because of a player from Schoenster, West Virginia. She is long gone, but Pratt is still here and has his thoughts on why the fans for women's basketball are more shaky.
People don't know them as well, and they don't get the advertising like a newspaper and like the men do. The women, you look 3 or 4 pages deep trying to find a score.
Whether or not the women get publicity, Tynice Martin has one main message for her younger teammates who are less experienced with this fan base decline.
You got to keep playing because you never know who's in the stands, regardless of if it's one person, 100 people, 1,000. That one person can mean a lot. It can be a scout. It can be an important person. So just play. And just play they must. WVU has 3 more games in the regular season, and Mike Carey has said they need to win all 3. Reporting for J386, I'm Mark Schoenster. Today we are doing something a little different. Instead of gathering stories all around WVU athletics and recreation, we are bringing you an all-encompassing coverage of the upcoming WVU football spring game. And I'm Mark Schoenster. We've got women's basketball, baseball, esports, and more coming your way on today's episode. Absolutely, Ireland. The rich tradition of West Virginia natives competing for WVU's football team dates back to the program's first team in 1891. Taylor Kennedy has the latest on the historical lineage of West Virginia natives. Even with the pandemic throwing curveballs into last season, and this season, it hasn't stopped Coach Brown from taking advantage of the spring to improve on some deficiencies from the 2020 season. Chris Farha tells us more. Kaiser has been an absolute thrill to watch these past few seasons. And although basketball season is winding down, baseball season is just getting started. Following a 7-day COVID-19 layoff, the West Virginia baseball team is set to continue their non-conference schedule, starting Thursday night with a 3-game series against Central Michigan. David said he wanted to make the WV proud, and I certainly think he's done that. With that, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got volleyball, soccer, and golf coming your way on Mountaineer Playbook. A great collegiate career is ahead of her, and we still got a great show ahead of us here on Mountaineer Playbook after this break. Thanks, Cam. According to the team doctors, Staley's injury was the worst they've worked with in their career. So props to them and Evan Staley for making it this far. Earlier we discussed a player in Alec Manoa who left West Virginia and is making the school proud. On the flip side, Ike Swiger, a Fairmont native, has transferred to Morgantown and is having a big impact on the men's soccer team. Cooper Zent has more on the striker. If you missed the link, just look up WVU Rec Sports on Twitch to find the channel. It should be worth a watch. I agree, Ireland. Not to mention, national parks are a great way to get out of your home and enjoy the world while staying socially distant. With that in mind, we've reached the end of today's edition of Mountaineer Playbook. I'm Mark Schoenster. Going off of that, the extension is supposed to be adding a little over 1,000 feet to the runway to improve aviation safety. Can you elaborate more on how safety exactly will be improved and why it's important? Mr. Rogerson, for this expansion, you're moving 4.4 million cubic yards of dirt, which will then be used to create this business commerce park. Can you tell us more about the city's future plans for this development?